let's face it, you're home. I mean, you're home. I mean, how special is that for you? You've been an IU guy your entire life, but essentially you're home now. For this next act, you're going to kind of teach these kids kind of what it's like to understand IU and help them guide them through life. But how special is that for you sitting there being coach?
Yeah,
It's very special.
so
I spent 34 years of my life, over half of my life in the NBA. So to be able to circle back
So as a young kid, I was
and come back home to Bloomington as well as Indianapolis, where it all started for me in high school. It's like a dream come true. I don't think you can print it any other way. I mean, I never dreamed of circling back like this, and to be able to do it on this big stage, because it doesn't get any better than the University basketball. So I'm happy as hell to be back.
Thanks, Coach.
It just puts a smile.
Hey, Mike. In 1977, you came in as a freshman in Bloomington, right off that undefeated team. Are you as excited about coaching this team as you were coming into Bloomington for the very first time?
Very excited. I look back when I came in, Coach Knight, he preached about family, team, and he had so much success, with his early teams. So when I go out and recruit, I preach family, and I tell the team every day when we're practicing to look up in the rafters and look at those Big Ten titles and those national titles, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. So yeah, I'm as happy now as I was when I came in as a little snotty-nosed freshman.
What do you tell those recruits about the titles and the history and the tradition?
Well, that's what it is. It's history, it's tradition. And make no mistake about it, Indiana basketball is Bob Knight. I mean, he set the table for all of us. Those banners are hanging there for a reason, because a lot of the players that played for him put in the time and work to make it happen. And it's not just going to happen now. We got to work. These players have got to make a commitment to working each and every day that they step on the floor. Because I always believe if you work at it and you put the time in, good things normally happen. And that's what I'm preaching now that I'm the head coach.
Mike, with Christian Lander's improvement at point guard, sort of how do you see the point guard minutes sort of playing out with three guys there?
Well, it's hard to say right now. I've never promised anybody minutes. You got to earn minutes. That's how I played throughout my career. But Christian has made some nice strides in terms of where he was, obviously, a year ago. Rob has made a big jump. So that point guard position has been very competitive. Xavier, yes, he started in the Bahamas, got in foul trouble early, and Rob came right in, and we didn't really miss a beat. So I don't know if I can play all three, but I tell everybody that's in a uniform, be ready to play, because you never know when your name and number will be called.
Like, how are you trying to balance, creating a physical mindset in practice versus, not getting guys too backed up?
Well, again, I never practiced that way. I never coached that way. You got to work in practice. That's the only way you're going to get better as a ball club. And you just got to hope and pray that no one gets hurt. Injuries are part of the game, I get it, but I can't use that as an excuse or slack off in terms of how I was taught how to play and how I push guys to play at a high level. I can't do that.
How are the guys now that were out, for Hysteria that didn't take part, or Lander and Kopp and those guys? Are they okay now? Or are they...
Yeah, they're working their way back. Again, you got some nagging injuries and I get it, but at the end of the day, I know it's early, but we got a scrimmage game here a week from Sunday. So, I want to make sure that this team is competitive and ready to play.
Grace.
Coach, you talked about the importance of history and tradition. Just how important, not only for you with that moment with Isaiah Thomas at Hoosier area, but for your players to see as well.
No, I mean it's very nice for our players to see something of that magnitude. I mean, Isaiah and I only played 1 year together. We won a gold medal together and a Big Ten title together, but it don't get any better than Isaiah in terms of his career and what he's done in college basketball and in the NBA. But I think for our young players to see ex-players come by, like yesterday we had Jared Jeffries and Scott May stuck his head in, and John Laskowski. They were all in the gym yesterday. And these young players, they need to see that because, again, those banners are hanging there for a reason. A lot of the players that put those banners up in the Raptors had a hell of a career at Indiana University and went on to play some NBA basketball as well. So for our young group, it's nice that they come around and be a part of it.
Bob? Mike, what have you had Trace doing this offseason to improve his perimeter shooting and to sort of round out some of the things that he doesn't do particularly well?
Telling him he's got to shoot it. He's shooting some in our scrimmages. He's making a few. But again, it's got to be a carryover into the ball game. He's using his right hand. I had him last week shoot a three to tie the game, and he made it. So I mean, it's a start. Like I told you when I made the commitment to sit him down and to get him to make the commitment to stay, I didn't show him anything from a basketball standpoint that he did well. I showed him all the shit he couldn't do. And he's been working on that. He's come to the gym early, he's leaving late, he's putting in the time, and I can't help but think that's going to help him in the long run as well as us as a team.
Mike?
Coach, in the Bahamas, you guys picked up and guarded full court a little bit. Is that going to be part of your identity? And just more generally, how well do you think this team can guard on the ball with Rob and Xavier?
Well, again, I think it starts on the ball. I think we got guards that are capable of getting up the floor and picking up. I'm not, trying to steal. I'm just trying to add valuable pressure early and take time off the clock and make guys work to bring the ball up. And I thought that was a bonus for us in the Bahamas because Christian can do it, Xavier, Tamar, Rob, guys like that, they can get up the floor and pressure a little bit. So we're going to stay with it because I think, it gets us started early from a defensive standpoint, and hopefully it will be a carryover with the other four guys that are playing behind them.
Right. I follow up on the point guards. What makes Indiana successful at the end of the year? What are you looking out of your point guards, specifically on offense, that competition? What do you want out of your point guards that'll make this team better?
Well, the point guard position, I've always said, is the toughest position on the floor because from a coaching standpoint, we ask them to do a lot. And I'm demanding when it comes to that. So I expect them to run our ball club. I expect them to defend, get the ball where it's got to go. Point guard takes a lot of crap, man, from his teammates because somebody might be open and that guy might miss him, And so I'm expecting a lot out of all three of them. Don't know who's going to start, who's going to get all the minutes, but they got to be ready to play when called for.
Good.
Mike, what do you look at as your biggest challenges with this team, and what do you see as the positives coming in coaching IU?
Well, I think the biggest challenge is getting them all on the same page to understand what I'm about and my staff on both ends of the floor. That's always a challenge for any coach. I've always believed if you can get players to play at a high level and believe in your system and what you do, you'll win your fair share of games. And that's where we're trying to get this team. again, I thought the Bahamas was a nice step in the right direction. And we went through 2 months of work prior to going to the Bahamas. And again, yes, you want to win, but I was more interested to see if these players could carry over some of the things we taught them over the 2 months, and they did. So I walked away from that trip feeling pretty good, but still knowing that there's a lot of work that's got to be done.
Jeff?
With Michael Dorr, sort of kind of like how's he doing physically, and do you anticipate him being able to play to start the season?
Yes, he will play.
Okay.
And again, he'll be a great addition to Trace and Race and Big Logan in terms of pushing practice. I thought early on, he made Trace really have to work, when he caught the ball down low. And you need that because the Big Ten, as we navigate through the Big Ten, you got a lot of big bodies on all these teams. And we got to have big bodies to be able to match some of these big-time players.
Bob?
Mike, what do you feel like you know for sure about your team after a limited time together, and what's still something of a mystery to you?
That they played hard. They're doing everything that we've asked them to do. But like I always say with young players, and Knight used to say it, hey, because you think you play hard, there's always another level of playing hard. And when you finally peak out to the next level of playing hard, the game becomes a lot easier for you. But we're not there yet. And, I like the energy and effort that they've given us, but there's still a lot of room for improvement.
Brad?
Mike, you brought some IU alums, some of your former teammates through to be around these guys. Is there a common message that everybody seems to be sharing with your team about the IU experience, about being a part of this program?
Well, again, IU basketball will never go away. It's one of the biggest things here in the state of Indiana. And for these young guys to understand that, there's a reason why there's 22 Big Ten titles in that arena and 5 national titles across the board. They got to understand that this school is rich in tradition in terms of basketball. And if you look at it in any other light, then you're missing the boat, and you probably shouldn't be wearing an Indiana uniform.
Mike?
Mike, obviously, there's an allure there, but what are some of the things you had to think about when deciding whether or not you wanted to coach college? Whether you wanted to return to that after not having been in college for so long?
Well, again, I've spent 34 years of my life in the NBA, and I practically have seen it all in the NBA level of play in terms of winning the title in Detroit and being on teams that couldn't win. So it's been a roller coaster ride in that regard. But when this job opened, it was a no-brainer for me because I would never accept another job. I would never have pursued any other college job in basketball. I just would never do that. I was happy and content in the NBA where I spent 34 years of my life. But this is a very unique job. And I know the dynamics of this job because I played here. And I've watched it over the years. And that speaks volume, I think. So when the job opened, I made it clear that I wanted to come back home. Now, some things had to happen in between, with Scott making the trip to Dawson, making the trip to New York to sit and talk with me, and gave me an opportunity to give my pitch and spiel on why I think I should be the head coach. And a week or so later, he was offering me the job, so here I am.
You said it's a unique job. Is it a unique con? Because it has opened 3 or 4 other times since Coach Knight. Were you interested then, or were you, was there something about this circumstance that made it more appealing now?
Well, again, the other times, I was always tied up with the head coaching job. There was one other time when they hired Archie, that it opened. And, you know, I just didn't like the way the process was going when they wanted to talk with me, and I kind of walked away from it. And this time, I thought the way they handled it was very professional and sincere. And I think when you're coaching at any level, you know, you want to be wanted. And they made it clear that they did want me, and I wanted to come back. So here I am.
You may have just answered the question, but when you talked to Scott, when you left the room that day, did you think I have this job?
No, you never look at it. I've interviewed for so many other jobs in the past in the NBA, and some I got, some I didn't get. So you know, I never walked away thinking that, hey, this is my job. You know, you read all the stories in the paper, which again, you know, I don't buy a lot. You know, I've dealt with the media a long time in my career. You know, some things that the media say, and that's no knock against you guys, it's just not true. It's some history. And hey, there were rumors and things swirling around this job, and my name was mentioned here and there, and there were a lot of other coaches that were mentioned as well. But I felt good about my interview. I do know that. And I felt good about what I thought I could offer to this university and this program. And it worked out in my favor.
Coach, who are two or three guys who maybe either are freshmen or guys who didn't play a lot in the past who you think maybe could be breakout players, really take a big step this year? Not the main guys, but guys who really haven't done much.
Anthony, you know, Galloway, Geronimo, those guys are starting to improve. And again, I'm going to need everybody that's in a uniform to be ready to play. We don't have a team where we have 3 or 4 superstars. You know, we got one dominant player in Trace, and we got a bunch of supporting cast. And that supporting cast all got to be ready to play with call.
Mike and Zach.
Coach, with the importance that you place on the three-point shot, is there a certain number of shooters that you have to have on the floor at a point in time, like 4 3-point shooters, 3, or how do you think about that?
Well, I'm spoiled in that regard. When I was with the Knicks, you couldn't double team anywhere on the floor because I had shooters all over the place. No, our team is not at that point right now. You know, if any college team can build a team where you got 4 out of the 5 guys that can make the long ball work, then you become really dangerous. But we're not at that point.
Does that place more emphasis on, you know, if your center's not ready to shoot, the other 4 or other 3 on the court, always making sure you've got the right 3 on there?
Yeah, you got to make sure you got shooters on the floor. And I'm trying to instill in all of our guys, you know, it's okay to shoot. You know, Rob is reluctant to shoot. So I got to basically cuss him out to shoot the ball. You know, I want you to shoot the ball. You know, it's okay. But we're getting there. We're working at it. Let's put it that way.
You've talked a lot, I guess, about your experience in Atlanta, and you've talked about coaching this team just because of how young some of those teams were at the beginning. I mean, what are some of the specific things that you maybe think back to then and sort of pull from as you coach this team and you coach kind of this group of guys?
I think the biggest thing is, again, the level of how hard you are willing to work. This team is probably doing more running than they've probably ever done under me and my staffs. And the same thing happened in Atlanta. You know, I had a bunch of young guys again that thought that they worked hard, and there's no knock against them that they think that way. But my level of playing hard is a little bit different than what most young players think. And but I like the way our guys are competing right now. You know, they're working, they're doing everything we've asked them to do. And we're just gonna keep pushing until we're able to get this team in the position to win more games.
Mike, of all the differences between coaching an NBA team and coaching in college, recruiting, dealing with younger kids, what's the biggest adjustment for you going from having been a head coach in the league to being a college head coach?
Again, it's just getting guys to buy into my shit. You know, I mean, excuse my language. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're throwing at these guys. Some of these things these guys don't like, you know, because it's hard work behind it. But that's how you win basketball games. And, you know, I was taught that way and had success that way, and I've always coached that way. So I can't change because I have a young team, new guys that are trying to familiarize themselves with Coach Woodson. You know, I mean, I got to be who I am. And again, I'm just trying to get these guys to buy into what we're preaching and pushing them hard each and every day that they step out on that floor.
When did you first catch the coaching bug and understand you wanted to spend your life doing this, and what gave it to you, or who gave it to you?
Well, that's a great question, man. You know, when I retired in '91 from playing, I was very happy and content, and just coming back to Bloomington and working alongside Scott May, and we got a real estate company down there doing some things that we've been doing for many, many years. And I got a call from a guy by the name of Cotton Fitzsimmons, who just went in the Hall of Fame 3 weeks ago, that I went down to pay tribute to. And he's no longer with us, but he called me. He was living in Phoenix at the time, and he called and said, "Hey, Woody, why don't you come out and be my assistant in the summer league?" And I told Cotton, man, I didn't want no parts of coaching. And he said, "Hey, Woody, we can play golf every day." So I said, "I'm on my way." And I get there, and the first day of practice, a true story, first day of practice, we're 30 minutes into practice, and Cotton says, "Hey, Woody, I'll see you later. I'm going to play golf." Well, I'm like, "Well, I'm going too, right?" He says, "No, somebody's got to coach the team." And I knew nothing about coaching. It was one of the most embarrassing times of my life as a coach. And he left me there, and I'm like, shit, I played 11 years in the NBA, and I have no clue in what I'm doing from a coaching standpoint. That's how I got into coaching. When I left practice that day, man, I just had the bug, man, and I started to pursue it. And one thing led to another, and I started coaching 4 or 5 years later.
Anybody else? It's the last 10 minutes we have till November 8th, so go ahead.
Mike, where do you see, are you more concerned about where you are as a team, or where do you see yourself in the Big Ten this year?
Well, again, I've never been a coach of predictions or anything like that. We're going to take it one game at a time. The Big Ten is very competitive. You've got a bunch of great coaches in the Big Ten that I've watched for years, like Tom Izzo being one. What Juwan did last year was amazing for the Michigan team, but I'm not surprised because he's had great tutelage coming out of the Miami camp with Pat Riley and Spoelstra. I just want our team to be competitive and compete on a night in and night out basis. And I know if they do that, they'll put our team in position to win games. And like I said, we'll take it a game at a time and see where it takes us.
Zach, Jeff, and Bob.
I guess, I mean, forgive me, I have to follow up. Just how did that practice go? I mean, what do you feel like you learned from maybe a moment like that when you are kind of thrown into the deep end a little bit early on?
Talking about in Phoenix?
Yeah.
Hell, I don't know how it went. You know what I mean? Again, I was new at it. Players probably looked at me and said, hell, he doesn't know what the hell he's doing, you know? Which, you know, I expected. It was kind of an embarrassing moment for me, but again, I had the bug, man, and thanks to Cotton and showing me the way, you know, it opened up a lot of doors for me as far as, you know, coaching, you know. I mean, he put me in a position to win an NBA title, and then it put me in position to be a head coach.
Jeff?
With Xavier, what did he do to win the starting job in the Bahamas, and what can he become for you guys this season?
I thought early on, because he's had more experience, Rob has kind of been up and down a little bit here in the program. Xavier at least ran Pitt as a point guard, so he has some experience, and it showed early on when we started practicing. And I thought he earned that right when we made the trip to the Bahamas. But again, Rob was ready. Xavier got in foul trouble in the first game. I threw Rob right in, and we never missed a beat. And then Xavier had the great game in the second game.
Mike, as you watched IU the last couple of years from afar, did it hurt you? I mean, I've talked to Jared Jeffries. He said it hurt to watch what had happened to a once great program. Did you feel the same way?
I mean, you feel hurt, frustration, but again, listen, guys, I'll never badmouth any coach. That's just not my nature. Like I mentioned earlier, coaching is hard, man. It really is. And Archie did what he thought was best for the team. It just didn't work out. It's a part of coaching. It happens. Yes, do I want to see our program do better? Absolutely. I think anybody that's played at Indiana or has gone to school at Indiana, hey, they love the basketball program and they want to see it do well. And unfortunately it didn't. So now I'm in that seat and I got to make sure that we can make a major move and we can get this team back on top. That's the only reason why I came back, guys. I want to try to get this team back on top.
All right, guys. Did you have one more?
Yeah, you mentioned the great job you won. It was phenomenal. But also rare. I mean, a lot of guys who have made the move that you're making now, it hasn't been successful. Have you paid attention at all to that, maybe studied what some of the coaches did not do, or maybe even just studied what Juwan did doing these things and saw how successful he was?
Well, you look at all of that, you do, from a coaching standpoint. Some coaches have had success, but the majority of the coaches that have come out of my league into college have struggled, and vice versa. Guys coming from college to the NBA league have struggled. Again, I can't look at it in that light. I got to believe in what I do as a coach, which I do, and I got to believe that I can get these players to play at a high level in the basketball game. That's the only thing that's on my mind.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks so much.